Hi guys, this is Deekshit. Welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna discuss about shell scripting scenarios. In this series, basically, I won't discuss anything related to basics of shell scripting. So I'll be just sharing whatever the scenarios I faced in my workplace or like whenever I have attended the interviews. So I faced these kind of scenarios. I just wanted to share these things. So let's get into the first scenario. The first scenario is, let's say I have a shell script which is named magic.sh. When I execute it, I should get the output as this is from magic.sh. When somebody accidentally or because of some project requirement, if they change the file name to magic-change.sh, then I should get this is from magic-change.sh. So in future, if somebody changes the file name to test.sh, then I should get this is from test.sh as output. So to keep in mind, so you shouldn't hard code the file name inside the shell script, because if somebody who doesn't know shell script at all, if he comes and if he changes the shell script name, then yes, if he forgets to update the content of the file, then it won't satisfy our scenario at all. So whenever somebody changes the file name, so it should automatically uh, change the output according to that. So to achieve this, there is something called a shell script arguments. So if you want to run any shell script with arguments, so let's say you have supplied two arguments. Let me open Notepad++. So I was discussing like this. Whenever you run any script, arg1 and arg2. So if you want to use this argument inside your shell script, so you'll use like this. So $1 to use that argument in your shell script. If you want to use argument 2, then you'll go for $2. And you can see like all the arguments and test the file shell script file name, which like it will be stored in an array. Means like it will be stored in like this, like shell script, it will be stored like this. So that's the reason. So when you want to access this arg1, so you'll use $1. When you want to use argument 2, then you'll go for $2. So that's the point. Like if you want to use the shell script name, then you can just take a $0. It will be having the shell script name. So this solves our scenario. So let's get into the practical thing, and I'll just show like how to achieve it through shell script. So which is, I mean, this script is very basic actually. So this I faced in one of the interviews. So I felt like many of people know like how to use the argument, but if you want to print the shell script name, so many people might not see in this scenario. So I just want to share this. So let's create a file magic.sh and let's echo it. I'm using $0 so that like when the file changes, so $0 will be having the shell script file name in $0. So whenever you execute, so it will display this is from and the file name of the shell script. So let's execute. Before this, I need to check whether my sh file has the proper permission to execute or not. So I'm just changing the permissions of my file. So right now I'm giving 777. So best practice is like to give only read write permission to group and others. So as this is a demo, I'm just giving 777. So let's execute it. Sh magic.sh. So you can see the output. This is from magic.sh. Let's change the file name to something else. Like I'll name it as test.sh. sh. So when I run it, I can see if you change the file name according to that, the output is also changing. So this is about the first scenario. So the next scenario is, so let's say you have many application properties that you need to use it in your shell script. So what is a better way? So that means, let's say your application has 100 application properties, which will be generated by another script. So always it will be changing. So you never know like when it will gonna change, or what value it will be having, for how many days it will, the value will be the same. So you don't know. But so according to that file, you need to change the properties inside your shell script also. So if you take this scenario, it is not suggested to hard code all the values, because let's say you're using these properties in another shell script also, in many of the shell script. Like let's say you are using these application properties in 10 shell script. If the value of application property changes, then you need to update all the 10 application properties, 10 shell scripts. So let's say there are 100 properties as of now. In future, it might increase up to 1,000. So you can't keep all 1,000 application properties in shell script. And it'll be like, if someone who doesn't know shell script, if they see it, like it'll be kind of, it's just a variable file they'll think of. So it's always better to segregate application properties and shell script. So to achieve this, there is something called as source. So you define application properties in some file, and whenever you need it, you just load to your shell script and then use them whenever you need it. So this is the better way. So you're taking the file. So as I've already mentioned, so it will be generated by some startup script. So it will be placed somewhere. I'm just loading whenever this shell script loads. So by this, what I can do is like I can avoid so hard coding those things in shell script. And also like if you want to use it in any shell script, I just need to source it. I just need to load that particular application properties into my shell script. So let's see that in a practical. So I've already written all those scripts and published to my GitHub. So I'll just leave this link in description too, to avoid delay in the video I've just uploaded. And I'll just copy paste it, but I'll explain it like each and every step I'll explain it. So we're discussing scenario two, and this is what my configuration looks like. So as of now, I've just taken two variables. So let's say you have 100 variables, as I mentioned in the slide. So it is very difficult. You can't hard code it. And also one more thing. So if someone opens that particular file, they'll get to know all your, like, let's say you have defined a password for some staging DB server or something. So if he opens shell script, so he'll be obviously able to read it. Like it's not suggested way. Okay. So let's create this config file. So I'll just log into my machine. Let's say I'll just go inside shell script folder and then remove whatever it is there. And then I'm just creating a config file. So which has basically my application properties. In this case, I've just taken two. Okay. And then let me create a shell script file. I'll just name this as it is in GitHub. So let's name it as application underscore properties. It's your wish. You can name it as you want. I'm just naming it as like as it is in GitHub. I'll just copy paste it. So yeah, so I'll just explain each and every statement in GitHub by looking at GitHub, because I guess like in VI screen, so it is colored red and another color. So I guess like it won't be visible. So that's the reason I'll just explain it in GitHub. The first thing is like we'll call this line as shebang. So we are just telling like what executable, what interpreter to use. Okay. So then the next line, so which is source config. So what it does, so it will search for the config file in present working directory. Let's say you have config file in some other place, then you need to give that full path here. So I'm assuming my configuration file is there in present directory itself. So that's the reason I'm just uh, giving just a source config, just source config. Okay. And then what it does, source will load all the properties which are there in this config file, and it will be available for my shell script. Okay. So in the next command, what I'm doing is like I'm just assigning, I'm just taking those two values. So in my config file, if you see, I have NAM and another variable sur. So I'm just taking those values as this is a simple shell script. So I'm just taking these two values and I'm just displaying it. I just wanted to explain you like what is source. So when you have a lot of application properties, how to load them in your shell script and execute whenever, uh, access whenever you need it. So I just wanted to show that. I'm just echoing those values here again. So let's execute again. So now I need to give the permissions to the shell script. So now if I execute it, so you can see name as Mark and surname is Brown. So now you can define your own properties and that you can access in your shell script. So this is the better way actually than hard coding it. So whenever the value changes, then you need to change this value also. So it is really difficult to manage in that way. So this is one of the better way to maintain your application properties in one file. And whenever you need it, just load it to your shell script and then use it. Okay. So this is about the second scenario, and the third scenario is like bit complicated compared to scenario one and scenario two. I guess like scenario one is it's I mean very simple, and even scenario two is also very simple if you know source command. Okay, the scenario three is like let's say I have a shell script, so basically it should have two options. One is -b and another one is -t. Okay. So whenever user, if you see this table, so whenever user executes the shell script with the -b option, then you'll provide the branch name after that, like -b and the branch name. Then the output should be developed is a branch. Okay. And another option is like, as I've already mentioned, it's -t. So whenever user executes this shell script with -t and the tag name, so then it should tell like the particular value is a tag 19 dot 12.1 is a tag. So if user executes the same script with both the options -b and the branch name and -t and the tag name, then the output should be like this. Develop is a branch. In the next line, 19.2 12.1 is a tag. So if user exchange the options, like let's say if he gives -t in the first and -b in the develop, so then output should be like this, that 19.12.1 is a tag and develop is a branch. So here you can see like you don't know whether like -t will be the first or -b will be the first. To handle this scenario, so it is very difficult to handle this scenario by using if else. So you need to do a lot of permutations, combinations. You need to, I mean, your code will be complex and it is like very bad. You can't maintain all these scenarios. So let's say in future somebody says like add some more options like -s, and you'll provide the size or something, some value there. So that time you need to increase, I mean, your code will be complex. And then if at all, if many option comes in to picture, then it is very difficult to maintain. To achieve this very in a simple manner, so we need to use something called a shift command, which is there in shell scripting. So by which like we can achieve this requirement very easily. So let's get into the practical thing and then I'll show how to achieve these things. Okay. So as I already mentioned, so I've written all the shell script and I've uploaded to GitHub. So let me go there and take that scenario 3 shell script. Yeah, so this is what. So my here also, this is also a very simple one. So I guess like the script is not updated yet. So let me do one thing. I guess like I've stored in somewhere. So yeah, I'll just change this. So I've used for some other requirement. So we can just update the script itself, and then we can execute it. So as I've already mentioned, so the users will have two options in this particular scenario. Okay. So I'm using basically while and case in this scenario. So while is to check whether I have arguments or not, if any arguments has passed or not. If no arguments, then no use like executing the script at all. So I'm just checking if any arguments are there or not. So I'm just checking like hyphen n in the sense like number of. It will check is there any arguments coming up or not. Okay, if any arguments are there, I mean, it's just check for the first argument. If first argument is there, then come and execute my shell script. If the first argument is not there, then it won't execute my script at all. Okay, and the next thing is case, and I'm just checking the first variable. So if the first variable is hyphen b, I'll just change it to hyphen b. Then I need to execute echo. This is from, not this is from $2, because my branch name will be in the second variable. If assume like this is the scenario, so if in this case the first argument is like option and the second argument will be my branch name, so that's why I'm using $2. Then is a branch. Okay, so let's say if the option is T, then I need to display $2 again. I'll just explain how it works. Is that tag? Okay. So then, so we'll, as of now, like we'll take off this part, which is not required for us. So if it doesn't match any hyphen B or hyphen T, so then it says like option is not recognized. Okay. And then it'll exit from the loop. So it won't execute further. Okay. So let me explain the script from the first line. As I've said, like I'm using while and case in this case, in this scenario. So while is to check whether I have arguments or not. Basically, I'm checking the first argument. If the first argument doesn't exist, then I'll assume like I don't have any arguments at all. Okay. And then if this satisfies, if I have a first argument, then I'll come to case. In case, I'm just taking the first argument. Okay. And then I'm checking whether it's hyphen B or hyphen T. Okay. Let's say if it is hyphen B. So let's take this as an example for the first time. Okay. So in this case, my option is hyphen B, and it will come to this part and it will execute this set of commands. So $2 value is develop, then it will say like develop is a branch, and the next command is shift. Shift is the very important thing in this scenario. What it does is like, so when you execute the shell script with these commands, this let's say you have used these as arguments. So when you do shift, what it does, it eliminates the first argument and it makes the second argument as first. So it is basically it's removing the first argument in array, and it makes the second argument as first argument. Okay. So then what it does, like it'll display the develop is a branch, then it will do shift. Now my first variable is develop, and it will come out of this part, and then as it is not hyphen t, it won't execute this, and it is one of like hyphen b and hyphen t. Even then, even this part won't be executed, and then I'm ending this case statement. But I mean, this is how we'll end the case in shell script, and again I'm doing a shift. I'll this shift value will you'll get to know when you use this particular scenario. So in this particular scenario, whatever we discussed hyphen be in develop, so it won't be. Uh, I mean, like you won't get to know what's happening by using this shift. So basically, it will eliminate this develop value also. It deletes from the argument list. So now I don't have any further parameters. So my loop will gonna end, and it will just display only develop as a branch. And it is similar to the first execution. The second execution will also happens like the same. So hyphen t. So if you execute with hyphen t, so it will just check for hyphen t, and then it will execute this part, and then I am doing shift. So hyphen t will be eliminated from my argument list, and now my first argument is this value, this particular value. Okay, and then it won't execute this part, and then again I am doing a shift. So now both the arguments are deleted from my argument list. So now again it will check for while. So while $1, it checks for the first argument. If it doesn't execute, then the shell script is done. It will be it won't go inside, and again it won't execute this command. Now the third scenario, hyphen b and hyphen t. So we have both the options, right? So now how it executes is like first it'll check the first argument whether it's there or not. Then yeah, in our case it's there. It'll go inside the case statement, and as it is the option b, and then it'll execute this particular statement, and it displays develop as a branch. Okay, and then I'm doing a shift. Okay. So when I do shift, so hyphen b is eliminated from my argument list, and now I have develop hyphen t and the tag value. Okay. So it will come out of the case statement, and then again I'm doing a shift. So when I do shift, so even develop, so this particular develop will be eliminated from my argument list. Now I have only hyphen t and 19.12.1. So now again my while loop will be executed. So yes, $1 is there. So now it will come inside the case again. So it will just check for hyphen t, and then this particular tag uh, will be, I mean, it will display like 19.12.1 is a tag, and then I'm again doing a shift. So hyphen t will be eliminated, and it will come out of a case, and then the tag value will also be deleted. And then my while loop again checks for the first argument. As all four values are deleted from my argument list, now I won't be having any arguments at all. So this condition fails, and so yeah, the shell script is done. Okay, and then this case is similar to whatever we discussed in the third scenario. So only the options has been changed. So that's what, like if you use shift, then you can achieve this kind of scenario very easily. So if in this case, if you want to do it with like if else or something, so it is very difficult to achieve it from that point of um, uh, logic. So this is the best way. Shift, if you use shift and the combination of case, then it is very easy to achieve these things. So let's copy the script and let's execute it. So we'll just check like how it works. Okay. Then I'm just naming it as arguments dot sh. Okay. And then I'm just copy pasting my code. Okay. And then give the permission, execute permission basically. So now execute this arguments with all the combination of options. Let's give it as dev. So you can see dev is a branch. Okay. Now if I change the option -t, and then if I change the value of it, basically tags will be in numbers only. So I'm just taking that itself. So then you can see this is tag. Okay. Then if I use both the options, like let's say I'll use -b now. So dev. So yes, it prints like tag first and dev is a branch again. Okay. Now if at all, if I change the options, so let's give it as -t 12.19. Then if you execute it, yeah, it will print according to it. So let's say I'll give something which is not there in options, not there in shell script. So it will say this is option -s is not recognized. So this is how in a better manner we can achieve this scenario. So yeah, that's all about this video. I just wanted to share all these three things, and I'll just update this script in GitHub also, and I'll also share this GitHub link in description. So if you want to have a look, so you can go ahead and you can have a look here. So this is a public repository also, you can fork it. So then whenever you want, you can have a look at all these shell scripts. And as I've already mentioned, so basically in this particular video series, I'll be sharing only the scenarios. I won't discuss anything basics of shell scripting or any other things which are related to basics of shell scripting and if loop, for loops, or uh, for the basic things I won't share. This is particularly I'll just share scenarios which I faced in my work or like the interviews. Okay, and so it's time for tips. So I'll be sharing any one of the tips so at the end of every video. So it might help you in your work or it might help you in your interview also. So now, so my question is how to get present working folder. So don't confuse with PWD. PWD, so when you execute PWD, so it gives like full path. I don't need the full path. I just need, so when I execute a particular command, I should get only the present working folder, only the shell script part. If I go back, so if I go back one folder back, so then if I execute that particular command, then I should get only Dikshit SN1 as an output. Okay, so this we can achieve it in many ways. One is there is command, inbuilt command, so which is base name $pwd. When I execute this, you will be able to get the present working folder. Okay, and I guess like this command won't work in all the flavors. So because in one of my scripts, I have seen in our scripts, I have seen like they've not used this particular command. They have did it in a different way. So let me share that also. So when you do, I guess so when you do present working directory, so you'll get the full path, right? Yes, when you execute PWD, you'll get the full path, right? So out of this PWD output, you need to filter it and you need to get as expected output. So what we will use for this is like PWD and use the pipe symbol. So pipe symbol basically what it does, the output of the previous command will be given to the next command. So now in this case, what I wanted to achieve is like I just want this value, right? So you don't know. Sometimes it might be only two slashes, and sometimes it might be three folders or four folders. So based on this slash, I can't get the value. So now in this case, if I want it, so what I can do is like cut. So I can use delimiter. Delimiter is like slash, and then if I use field -f, which field you need, you can select it. So if I give 2, so then not 2 in this case, I guess like it's 3. So when you use this one, so it'll give you the output. So when I go for any other folder, like let's say I'll go into other folder. Now if you do pwd, now it has 3 slashes. So now the field value should be 4. So this is not acceptable. So when the field value increases, if the folder inside the folder, if you go like that, so then you need to always change your field, right? So this is not accepted. So you want to have a command so which gives the output, expected output, without changing any command, any value of -f. So to achieve this, like you need to use, there is something called as reverse command. So what you can do is you can reverse it. So when you reverse it, so always the present working folder will be there at the first. So what I'll do, I'll again pass it to the cut command, -d. Again, my delimiter will be slash, and then the field is 1 because the first value itself, the present working folder. Then already it is reversed, right? So again, I'll just reverse it, and yes, you can see I've got the expected output. Let's go back one folder back, and then let's try to execute this. Yeah, see, so you'll get the expected output without changing the value of field value, basically. Okay, this is one tip I wanted to share. And one more thing, so let's say you'll execute a particular command. Let's say you want to execute this command. So you'll use this command basically for a number of times. Like let's say you'll use this command 100 times a day. So writing this long command, so in this case, it might be only this much command. So in, well, while working, so if you see, the commands will be very huge, and if let's say you want to ssh into some machine regularly, so you can't type always like ip and ssh command. So what you can do is you can create a shortcuts. So what shortcut, in the sense like so let's say if you want to connect to any machine, so then you can use a shortcut, and you can shorten your basically you can shorten your command. Then if you execute that command, so it should basically, it should, in the background, it should execute the actual command. So to create, how to create a shortcut, I'll just show how to create the shortcut. So actually in every flavor of Unix, you'll be having the startup script. So you need to change startup script to create shortcuts. And if let's say if you want to do something, you want to delete a particular file when your uh, machine starts, or whenever you open a particular this command prompt, so that time whatever the things it should do in the beginning when you open a shell, so that time you want to mention those things in your startup script. So that is what basically I'm doing it. Bash rc is for Ubuntu. So I'm just opening that file. So what I'll do is like I'll just create an alias, and I'll just declare a variable pwf, and then in a single quotes I'll just give this particular command. It's basically pwd reverse, and then cut -d. Delimiter is basically this one, and then field is 1. So you don't need to mention it in double quotes. Field is 1, and then pipe, again reverse it. Okay, so when you do this and save it, and again you need to source it, because you have already opened a shell. So if you want to load whatever the updated things that you did in bash src, you just need to source it. So it loads all the properties to the current shell. Okay, so when I do this, like now the new updates has been updated. So when I do PWF, so you can see I'll get the present working folder. Okay. So this is how we'll create a shortcuts. So yeah, that's all for this video. So thank you. If you like it, please share, subscribe, like it. And also as I said, I'll keep all these shell scripts in GitHub. If you wanna have a look, so then you can definitely go ahead and you can fork it, and then you can have a look at it. Thank you.